We're live.
Call the meeting to order.
Chief, Paul.
Very social. Can't help it.
First order of business would be to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
Thank
You. Consideration of the September 12th meeting minutes.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Activity reports, gentlemen.
Get right into it here. Incidents year to date. So we had 52 in the month of September. That's up from 44 coming out of August. 17 of those, if you guys looked at them, come up from the Kingswood complex. So it's something to look at because the SRO's back, school's back in. 35 is from the everyday patrolling. Most of those are disorderly, simple assault, theft, criminal mischief, your normal ones. But you can see all that. 66 offenses out of those 52 incidents. And the backup's all that for you. Arrest year to date for the month of September is 12, down 2 from 14 in August. So the backup's all right there. Most of those are motor vehicle related. That's probably the heavy dose of it. There's 4 of them. We had some warrants that we got from other jurisdictions. 2 from the school complex and a PC and drugs. Traffic stops coming in September, it decreased by 5.6%, 67 stops. If you look at that, I did have a new graph there on the second page there, if you guys saw that. There was actually 6 citations in that month. So I don't know what happened coming out of there. If you look at the civil part, 6 of citations, 57 verbal warnings came in for that month, and you can see all that stuff in the backup. Collisions, this is a good one. September went down. We had 7 for the month, down from 15 in the month of August. And you can see everything that's where it's coming from. A lot of it's the same areas, North Main, Center Street, Governor Wentworth Highway. And that's all there for you. I did the personal analysis for the month of September. If you notice, what I said is 52 incidents, 12 arrests. Last year at this date, we had 59 incidents, 13 arrests. A lot of this, I mean, the big differences are citations, motor vehicle stops, but again, we're down some officers, and we have some in the academy. One just graduated last week. That individual's out on field training, which is going to be about 11, 12 weeks. The other one's still got 6 more weeks left. We'll be graduating on November 15th. And then we got another 11, 12 weeks of FTO on that. We have another officer coming back in October, so we're starting to get our schedules back in, because right now we're down 6 scheduled shifts, if you think about it. So we're getting there, and then we have a conditional offer on another one. So we're getting close, and hopefully we get that individual into the January academy. I do have the yearly personal analysis. So this year we have 444 incidents, 141 arrests, and 867 citations, which is basically stops, motor vehicle stops. Not all of them are actually ticketed. Last year at this time we had 480 incidents, 198 arrests, and 1,649 motor vehicle stops. So there's a little difference there. And the SROs, they got their reports, so I'll just analyze that a little bit. Up at the high school, there's a lot of vaping that we took off. A lot of basically reports on that up at the high school. Most of them actually deal with the school, and the school takes care of it. We just got to take the actual item in and destroy that. If it happens too many times, we did do a court summons for the month of September, if they keep getting caught. I do want to read one little thing here from the high school, which I thought, actually, there was a couple of them, which was really good. Shanks visited each of Mrs. Kennison's intro to algebra class and discussed his journey and struggles with math and how he was able to overcome that. SRO Shanks, as a traffic crash reconstructionist, also showed the students how to convert speed into velocity and used that to show them how many feet they traveled when they take their eyes off the road for a couple of seconds while texting. Shanks also explained the human reaction time and how that plays a role as well. If you notice that on our Facebook page, that he was in the classroom, he was teaching the classroom, he was in there with the kids, so that's a great thing. He's also out doing basketball during their time in there, which I think is, I mean, it's just awesome stuff. Same thing as Eric, that's been in the lunchrooms, sitting with the kids. So it's just great stuff that we're seeing, that what's coming out of that school with the two SROs, what they're doing in there. And SRO LaRochelle also walked around the school campus, did a walk around. He noticed some doors propped. He did shut those and communicated with their staff. So that's a big thing. I mean, keeping an eye on that school and keeping the doors the way it should be. I think I got the next thing, which is court cases. So we had 11 cases last month. 5 of those were DUIs. 9 pled guilty. Out of all those 11 cases, fines up to $4,526. Those fines all go to the state. 1 was put on file, 1 year good behavior, and 1 was in a direct indictment. As you'll see all that on that cases. So the gasoline for last month, they stayed at $2.84, which is actually really good. We used 536 gallons, which came out to $1,523. So that line is at 55.6% spent. So we're doing really well in that line for vehicle fuel. And then I did the analysis for the budget. We're sitting really good. Yes, it's due to our staffing, which is right now, but for the default budget, we're 9.35 underspent for the total budget. So we're doing really well. No major issues. Overtime's a little over, but it's going to be when you don't have all your scheduled shifts and staffing. But that's all I got.
Any questions?
Nope.
Chief?
I don't have a whole lot to add to that. You stole my thunder with Officer Robbins graduating October 4th. We're happy to see him on the street, and he seems to be a really good fit for the town. Enjoy watching him converse with the public. And on that note, I would also like to recognize Bernie Walensky. Bernie's been doing the crosswalk. Then I can't hear myself. Bernie's been doing crosswalk now for a while. I've been sneaking around. I don't think he's caught me yet. To watch him and how he interacts with both the kids and their parents, as well as just the motoring public. He's constantly smiling, waving, and he will be a good memory for a lot of children in the years to come. Thank you, Bernie, for doing the job you're doing thus far. You make us look good. We have been experiencing online training with the new TASER 7. You may recall from previous meetings about our change to the new TASER 7, which is a enhanced TASER. It was time to change them, and we were able to change them to a better designed TASER by Axon. That TASER requires a pretty long training program that's fortunately offered online so that the officers can do it during their duty shift, so it's not causing us overtime in order to train them on this piece of equipment.
That's a practical piece.
What's that?
And there's a practical piece.
And then there is a practical piece as well that they have to do with a taser instructor, of which Corporal Shanks is. Other than that, the budget cycle is upon us. Last night, we were attendees to the Board of Selectmen's budget hearing, and there'll be more budget stuff coming up. We're also in union negotiations as those continue. As far as the public safety building goes, Phase 2 is currently ongoing. Everything looks pretty good. We try to take a walk through each evening after all the workers have left to see how everything's progressing and making sure that there's no miscommunications along the way. Thus far, it looks very good. And on that note, Monday, which is Columbus Day, and Tuesday is the paving of the entire parking lot. That's going to require both police and fire apparatus and other vehicles not to be on that parking lot. And we're going to try to set up an area for anyone who needs to come to the police department or fire department for any business. They know where they can put their car because they won't be able to enter onto the parking lot. We're going to do our best to try to make sure that they can get the car off the road and still make access. They will be able to walk to the building, but they just can't drive on that spot. There will be a social media notification of the particulars there as well.
Yeah, the best bet is if somebody needs us, use the cell phone, call us. Call our non-emergency line, that's the easiest way to get to us. Do those 2 days. There will be challenges.
And I think lastly, it's just equipment, and I'm looking at different equipment that we'll be switching over or transferring to in the upcoming months. One of which is the current sidearm that the Wolfeboro Police uses is a .40 caliber Sig Sauer. We have reached that age where it's highly recommended that the weapons are changed over. Nationally, .40 caliber is going away. It's very difficult to find .40 caliber weapons on police departments anymore. We have been in talks with Glock and their 9mm line. We've spoken with the distributors of that, and more to come on that. And I think I spoke to you a couple of meetings ago about Body Armor Outlet, and we were awaiting quotes from them as far as the external or the weight-bearing vests that you see police wear. And I like a professional, clean, squared away police officer with the weight off their hips. I think it works well. I think it's easily attainable to get to the equipment, and it looks professional. I have been in conversation with Body Armor Outlet about that, who can use our, as long as the armor itself hasn't expired, can use the armor to fit to their vests, which is going to save us a whole lot of money in the long run. And more on that when I get the quotes. That's all I think I have.
Thank you. Any questions?
Nope.
Commissioner items. Next scheduled meeting will be Thursday, November 14th, 2024, 6 p.m. here at the Great Hall. Board of Selectmen rep and Budget Committee rep, Paul.
It's very low on batteries, so we're just using what we need.
That's, Jesus, that's code for don't speak long. Thanks for, I know, Chief, that's good. Thanks for having me here. I appreciate what you're doing. As the Chief mentioned that Captain Livy stole his thunder, everything the Chief said is just stole my thunder. So it means we're working on the same stuff, which kind of says we're aligned, which is a dangerous thing to think about. We're in the middle of budget season. It's interesting. There's some things we put in what we call the parking lot that we revisit. I don't think we parking lotted any of your stuff last night, did we? We did. Okay, we'll have to reconsider some of that then. We do know that you're going to be back in front of the Budget Committee, in front of the Board of Selectmen for a conversation around cruisers and a conversation around body cameras. I parked a question with all of you last night about the body cameras to just make sure we understand what goes on after the camera comes off and when the data gets released into your system. So budget's moving along. Everybody wants to know what the final number is going to be. We don't have the insurance number coming in from the state yet, so that could be anywhere from 0 to a big number. So we're not going to speculate or handicap the number, the budget overall. And we haven't had a chance to look at some of the other departments. I will say that the agencies, the nonprofits that came in, basically held the budget line, and if you listen to what those people do for the people of our town, it's pretty impressive. It's very impressive, and it's pretty selfless, which I thought was good. I am, as the chief and others know, I'm sitting with you as well as with the AFSCME team with the union negotiations. Those are ongoing. We're two meetings deep into that. I think we have more conversations that are necessary around that. I want to thank the chief and the captain and the deputy over at the fire department. We've had to wrestle with a gnarly question about baby boxes and other things, and I will tell you that a piece of work was done by the chief and by the deputy in the absence of Chief Zadi. And it was an outstanding piece of work. It wasn't biased. It didn't have any, this is what you should do. It just kind of laid out the facts. And the thing that I found very impressive at the beginning of the letter was the chief said, our concern is the safety of the public. Having said that, here's our thoughts on what you should do. So I found that to be very helpful, at least for me personally. I know that we still have a lot of work to do, as I said, on budget. We still have a lot of work to do on the public safety building. We talked last night at an operational level what that thing's going to look like next year, and there's probably going to be a bigger lift than I think some of us thought in terms of ongoing expense, propane, cleaning it, all that stuff. So we got to take a more of a look on that. But we haven't looked at the capital side yet. We haven't looked at, are we in a situation where we have change orders and that kind of stuff? Even the last time the captain and the chief and I spoke about that was several months ago, where I kind of said, what are we doing with these change orders? So you're probably going to see a conversation, and we'll probably want you to be a party to that conversation around what the capital add might be for next year's budget. Having said that, it's full steam ahead. While we're doing all that, everybody else has to run the town and do all the stuff that gets done when the town gets run by very capable people. So any questions from you folks, I'll be glad to entertain them. You're good? Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Tom?
Tom Bell, the liaison with the Budget Committee for the Police Department. We literally just got distributed post the Selectmen meeting, the budgets just today. So I took a look. The aggregate seems to be in the 8% range, and the PD is seeming to come in at almost a negative 0.6. So that, along with all the work you're doing to maintain the default budget, is certainly appreciated. So our next meeting is not until the 23rd, 2 weeks from now or so, and there'll be more to come from that after, of course, the selectmen have their final says, and we get to take a look at each line item. So, any questions or anything? No. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Public input. Anyone? Sure. Sir?
Yeah, Joe Melanson here. Just had a question to the board and commissioners about
You can take the mic off of that.
returning from a recess. Could you clarify what that is? I I know what the word recess is, but is it Chairman Coop? Fine, yeah, call the meeting, thank you, to order, returning from recess at 6:11. That was on the September 12th minutes.
What-
Because we were in non-public first,
Oh, yeah.
and then we recessed, and then we,
I don't see anything here in the minutes that mentions non-public you went into with a vote.
I'd have to review the minutes. I'm not sure that right now. You're talking about last month's meeting?
Yes. Yeah. You should probably have it in front of you there. You just approve the minutes.
and I don't,
But in order to go into a non-public session, it must be taken during a public session, and the meeting recorded in the minutes. A
Which we
motion
did.
must be made and seconded to enter,
we did. I just-
citing the
it's not on
reasons,
here. Yeah,
but it was never mentioned here. On the original agenda, it said call to order. Is that when you met in a non-public session?
Yeah, I think Sherry's got input on that in the notes.
yeah, it's probably, that's just an oversight.
Is that what that is? At 5 o'clock is non-public, but it wasn't,
We called the meeting to order at 5, then they took a vote to go into non-public, and then when we come out,
well, the way I read it, it said 5 o'clock non-public. I tried to get in earlier tonight, and they said they were in non-public session. I think it has to be done in a public session in order to go into non-public with a vote. I think you'll find if someone looks into it, anything that was discussed or any motions or any actions taken place are going to be invalid. And I was wondering what returning from recess was, if that was a non-public session. I noticed on the October 10th agenda tonight, there was no mention of a non-public session.
yeah, it was amended, and we put it up, and it's on the website, and it's posted at the town, at the police department.
How many hours was it done before the meeting?
A few hours, and I called Amy to find out if that's okay.
Well, unless it's an emergency, no. So I'm just questioning and trying to be proactive with the board that maybe this has happened before, maybe go back to make sure nothing's going to become of any motion or any decision you made. Because I noticed back in May, there was pretty much the same thing where it was mentioned that there was a recess coming back from that, but I didn't notice any non-public posted. So that's it with that. And
I think, Joe, the reason, like tonight, the door was closed was because we were going into non-public, but,
right, but I
But you
didn't see it
that.
posted,
You didn't see
right?
that on the amended
oh,
one,
okay.
It wasn't posted.
We do follow the protocol in terms of how we.
the votes.
We've always done that, but.
But I noticed,
We'll start including that on those public minutes.
it was. So you had a non-public
Yeah, so we
session
can amend those and add that.
tonight, and you also list it down below here, too.
Right, because that was just, those are the reasons originally. That's how, it's the standard form that we have.
Okay, I'm just mentioning, but by law, it has to be mentioned to make a motion in public session to go into non-public.
Right, so we vote, we do,
Well, if I'd known that, I would have
Call
been
to
here
order.
to listen as to what number they were going to go into non-public.
oh, like, yeah, we announced that, but
Yeah.
there was no one in the room. So you're saying you'd like to be in the room at 5?
Oh, yeah.
And hear us go into, and
Sure.
hear that reason?
So I
and
know
then
what being
go out. Okay.
discussed. Yep,
Yeah,
I think that's fair to, openness is what has to be in a public meeting.
right.
Yeah, it is a requirement. I mean, you can look under the Attorney General. I've got issues, and I've got the right to know from the New Hampshire Municipal Association. I just don't want it to come back if there's a decision you made that was important maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and someone finds a discrepancy and calls it an illegal meeting, or they cannot validate what you passed, which is Hopefully not going to happen, but possible. I have another issue just I'd like to talk about. Is the crossing guard. I know Bernie, he's a great guy, and I think he does a wonderful job. I was thinking if people, do they remember, I think Commissioner Wood, you might have been on the board at the time in 1995. There was a little contention between the chief as to what his responsibilities were and the police commission overstepping the bounds because he can run the day-to-day operations. I just thought, my own opinion is that that program has been going since before I got as commissioner in 97, since 95, which was approved by the commission then. I just thought, my own opinion, it would be nice to keep a certified officer on the, across from the Carpenter School and the crossing guard there. I think some of the reason would be safety from the vehicular traffic. I think a lot of cars go pretty fast through there. We have another crosswalk below and one above. And I just thought the presence of a police officer with the lights on would slow down someone, maybe prevent something from happening. I think probably Bernie's had a couple of incidents too that were kind of different with people, you said, turning around in front of you and stuff, whatever. So I just thought it'd be a good idea where there's a lot of kids that get offloaded and onloaded down there. What we continue to do with community policing is that we had a baseball card program where the officers would sign the back of the card and the kids would try to collect them, and at a certain point they'd get so many and they'd get a prize, and we gave out junior police officer stickers to the kids that didn't win but were competing in the contest. It was kind of nice, like I think the chief said earlier, where you can see the kids actually were high-five or slapping the hands of the officers, and they were actually interested in the cruiser, and they liked to look at that, and they thought the guys were all gruff and grumpy, but they found out different they weren't. I just think it's a service we've had there for such a long time. I think I hate to see it taken away. I'm just worried with everything going on that it might be a good idea to have a certified officer there where you can have the police cruiser, and the lights might be annoying, but at least it might slow down somebody. I think that I know we're in a default budget, and I was thinking that if we reinstate a certified officer back at Carpenter School, I think the money was already budgeted for that officer, if I'm right.
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
The officers that comes on the morning shift, he usually covers.
There's a day shift officer.
The day
and
shift
if he
down
was
there.
available,
If he's available,
he would
right.
go to the Carpenter School.
And if he wasn't, or if same with the afternoon officer, if he wasn't available, we had it so somebody from Carpenter School would come out and cover the crossing area at the time if one of the officers had another call, which didn't happen too much. I'm just thinking that it was a good program where the commissioners are the liaison between the public and the police. And you also have a term where the police are the people and the people are the police. I just thought it'd be good to try to foster a really good relationship between the parents, the students, and the police department. That's all.
Thank you for
Yeah,
your
just
comments.
yeah.
I'll certainly take that and others that I've heard in the community in consideration.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, yeah.
Thanks. I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So noted.
Try to-